Stabio?
You can, either one's fine. Okay. Thank you for joining us this evening for the January 4th, 2022 Monte Sereno City Council regular meeting. Before this meeting is called to order, I would like to point out a few house rules to assist council members, staff, and members of the public to successfully participate in this meeting. Council members, your microphone is live, so please keep your microphones on mute until you wish to speak. For tonight's meeting, we are using Zoom to host the City Council regular meeting. At the bottom of the Zoom client, there are two icons, chat and raise hand. Please use chat only to report technical issues such as being unable to hear a council member speaking. Please use raise hand to be recognized by the mayor and enable to speak to the council. To comment under oral communications or on any agenda item, you're allowed 3 minutes to speak per agenda item. Emails limited to 350 words can also be submitted to the city clerk and it will be read into the record. This word limit is set to adhere to the typical 3-minute time allowance. Only attendees using the Zoom application can use the raise hand option to comment. Participants calling in from a telephone will only be able to listen and cannot provide feedback or public comment. Lastly, because we are all not in the same room, all votes at this meeting will be taken by roll call.
Thank you. If you can get started with first of all, I'd like to, I wish all of you a happy new year and I hope you all had a good one. And then if I can ask Mayor Pro Tem Brian Mekachek to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, am I on? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Are there any changes in the orders of the day? And are there any presentations?
We need to do the roll call, Mayor.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's do the roll call.
Okay, Councilmember Lawler.
Present.
Councilmember Luthold.
Present.
Councilmember Turner. We see you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Mekachek.
Present.
And Mayor Lahi.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Thank you for catching that. I don't believe we have any presentations. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And are there any oral communications? Any member of the public who wishes to address the city council on a matter that's not on the agenda? This is the time to do so. Please raise your hand and I'll be happy to recognize you. I have a hand from Mr. Tony Jeans. Please go ahead, Mr. Jeans.
Yes, I just want to make sure that item 5 on the consent calendar is pulled by one of you so that it can be discussed. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
I would like to pull something from the consent calendar as well.
Please go ahead. Which item?
I don't see it on the screen.
Mayor, maybe we can start with that after we go through the written communications, and then we'll get onto the consent calendar.
Yeah, we're at the oral communications right now. So are there any other oral communications? Nope. Any written communications, Ms. Radcliffe?
No written communications.
All right, now we're at the consent calendar. I understand Mr. Jeans wanted to pull number 5, so we're going to pull that. And Councilmember Turner, did you want to pull any item?
I don't know. I have to look down to the bottom. Is number 5 the other? Is number 5 the last one?
Number 5 is the last one on the consent calendar, which has to do with the reading of those ordinances that we passed last time.
Oh, no, I don't want to do anything here.
Okay. So as to items number 1 through 4, can I have a motion to approve those items on the consent calendar? Mr. Mekachek, I recognize you as making the motion. Second?
Councilmember Lawler wanted to make the motion.
No, actually, if I may, Yes, I will make the motion, but I wanted to make a change to the minutes, just to correct the minutes, if I may.
Okay, so that's
Um,
item 1. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, item 1 should read under council member comments. Councilmember Lawler, I want to change that to say Councilmember Lawler reported that the Citizens Redistricting Committee has approved the final boundary changes for Assembly District 28. And with that change, I'll make a motion to approve items 1 through 4 on the consent calendar.
All right. Ms. Gretchen, you can make that change?
Yes, I'll make the change.
Great, thank you. And Mr. Mekachek, you're seconding it?
Yes, I'll second.
Yeah, let's have a roll call.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Lauer, second by Mayor Potem Nekacek. Councilmember Turner,
Yes.
Councilmember Luthold,
Yes.
Councilmember Lawler,
Yes.
Mayor Potem Nekacek,
Aye.
and Mayor Elahi.
Aye,
That motion passes 5-0.
thank you. So now we go to item 5 on the consent calendar. Since we pulled it, does any member of the city council have any questions of the staff? Hearing none, we'll open it to the public. And Mr. Jeans, I believe this is your turn to address this particular item. I believe you're muted, Mr. Jeans.
Could I please show my screen? I'd like to share it.
Sure, if you're able to do that.
It says I still cannot share. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I've promoted you as panelist. Give me 1 second. Let me see what's going on.
Still says I cannot share. I cannot start screen share while the other participant is sharing.
Go ahead and try it again.
Yes, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you'll remember a communication that I sent on December 28th, and I would like to go through a few things relating to SB 9. When I attended the study session on November 29th, one of the items that came out was limit SB 9 units to 800 square feet. I understood that to mean limit any SB 9 residential development submission to a maximum of 800 feet per unit. That I understood. What has been interpreted and put in the ordinance is limit any property in Montecito, whether it's an urban lot split or an SB 9 residential development, to never being able to build more than 800 square feet per unit. Additionally, do not allow any future application under the site and architecture review process for such a lot. I did not feel that that was what the council had intended, and I hope it is not. So I would like to say, what happens with an urban lot split? Well, if it's possible at all, which is not very frequent, 2 lots are created. The owner has to build ministerially his maximum 800 square foot house, 2 of them possibly. This creates a 3rd-class lot. It's not the Monte Sereno vision of single-family neighborhoods. If we allowed a site and architecture application, then zoning rules would already require smaller houses to be created. So you'd have 1 small home on each lot rather than a large home on 1 lot. So there wouldn't be any real increase in building intensity or density. But we can allow, and we should encourage, a site and architecture application with noticing, neighborhood input, and the owner to build a reasonable home per the design guidelines. If they want a 2nd unit, by all means, we could restrict any 2nd unit, like an ADU, to 800 square feet. So I would like you to correct the ordinance to the way that I think it was intended, so that you can still go to site and architecture on an SB9 lot. This is a page from the ordinance. This is chapter 13. These are the 2 word changes that would be needed. At the moment, item C says new dwelling units constructed on any parcel created following the approval of an urban lot split shall be no more than 800 feet. I would just like that to say new ministerially approved dwelling units would be no more than 800 feet, which would allow a site and architecture application to create a reasonable house for a Monte Sereno resident.
Your 3 minutes are up.
That is what I am asking you to look at approving. I ask you to comment on whether this was what you had intended. And I thank you.
Mayor, your microphone is on mute.
Thank you. Yeah, I will recognize Mr. Corolla and Pam Sheridan, or either one of them who wishes to address the council.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, this is Paul Corolla. It's funny because last time I was at a city meeting, I was saying that I was complaining about houses being too big that were built. And tonight, I want to say that I think some housing is going to be built that's too small. So anyhow, I'm going to immediately hand it over to my wife, Pam, because I'm sick and don't really feel very well. So Pam will talk to you now.
Hi, Paul and I have lived for 25 years in Monte Sereno. We built our home here in the year 2000. We do not plan to subdivide our property under SB9, but we do think it should be utilized, but utilized in a way that keeps the character of our community and allows families to remain in our community. If you go for the 800 square foot limit, which if that's true, I think it would do 2 things. Number one, it would be considered an attempt to frustrate the law and get state pushback and possibly lawsuits. And I well know that you guys don't like lawsuits. Number 2, it encourages the propagation of lots of Lego block-like houses. And again, that doesn't really help us. It doesn't look good. It doesn't help families have housing. It doesn't solve the problem that SB9, the spirit of the law, is intended. I think owners should be given the option of building a proper single family home, split their lot, build a smaller home on one side, a reasonable home on the other side, and sell half of it if they need to in order to retire and stay in our community. It's become impossible for retired people to remain in our community. Property taxes, just cost of living, and they're sitting on a pile of money on their land, and there's just no reason they shouldn't be allowed to build a reasonable sized home. As you all know, we opposed building the 11,000 square foot house on our corner next to us. And I think that's what will happen, is that people will just say, the heck with this, we're leaving Monte Sereno and we're going to sell our 2-acre lot instead of dividing it. And, you know, someone will come in again and build 11,000 square feet on each acre, which you guys do allow to happen. I hate to see people leave our community, and, you know, this is what will happen if you don't approve something more reasonable. I think Tony's idea of having site and architecture be the venue where properties are decided upon and designs are approved is a better venue than just saying 800 square feet, that's it, rubber stamp. So that's it. That's my piece.
Appreciate your input. Thank you for that. And next we have Janet Chaffin. If you would go ahead.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm Janet Chaffin, and what the others have just said makes a lot of sense to me. My husband Barry and I have lived in our home in Monte Sereno for 26 years. Placed 1,000 square feet house on about 1.5 acres. We're active in the community and we love it here. For example, Barry chairs the Monte Sereno Better Streets Committee, and we frequently walk and bike around the streets. We would like to retire here, but our house is in pretty rough shape and insurance has become a problem due to fire risk. We've looked into remodeling, but it was built in the 1940s by a fireman in his spare time. And the experts have advised it's not practical to update it for many reasons. So we wanted to tear it down and build a new house, but that is an expensive proposition. We were very happy to learn about the new SB 9 law to improve our scarce housing situation in this state. If we split our lot, we would have a 3/4 acre with plenty of room for roughly 3,000 square foot house we want. And we could add a fire truck turnaround for added safety at the same time. We could also add an ADU if the city wants some smaller rental units. In addition, if we're able to split our lot, we would want to design the future neighboring house for the second lot so that it's not too big, also in the 3,000 square foot range. When our existing neighbors have added on or rebuilt over the years, we've supported their projects, and we would definitely want to talk to them as well as go to site and architecture with the designs for this. We have no desire to build something that's wrong for the neighborhood. We feel the SB 9 law, if implemented the right way, could be a real benefit to the community, opening possibilities for young families like ours when we first moved here. We don't want to be forced to move away for our retirement, nor do we want to have to build several little 800 square foot rental units in order to stay here. So we're here today to ask you to please adjust the permanent ordinance to allow property owners like us to apply to the Site and Architectural Commission for practically sized, well-designed homes on a split lot. This would make a huge difference to us and others like us in the community, as well as new families wanting to call this home. And it would give Site and Architecture the ability to preserve Monte Sereno's unique charm at the same time. It's a win-win-win. So we appreciate your consideration.
Thank you for your comments. Appreciate that. Next, we have Mr. Trevor Schwartz.
Thank you.
Schwartz, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much. I believe SB 9, well, SB 9 was created and passed by the governor to tackle the state's housing needs. And I believe the objective of this order was to allow homeowners with a certain size lot and the opportunity to essentially subdivide, thus creating another single family home. I realize that much of the details are left in the hands of each town and city, but I feel that we're not looking at this with the same intentions as our current administration. If we move forward with the current recommendation of limiting owners to 2 800 square foot units, we'll end up with a town of small rentals all over our beautiful neighborhood. I feel that this recommendation is simply a resistance or a knee-jerk reaction to concerns of overdevelopment in Montecito. I'm also concerned that the restriction would create more development or be challenged by our state, leading to more fiscal strain on our town through possible litigation. We have a very capable professionals within our site and architecture team, and we should allow them to continue to provide oversight and guidance on projects and plans that are presented to them without limitations of too small units. There's a number of things I don't like about SB 9, but it does not mean that Montecito should not try to take advantage of the things that work for us. Updating this ordinance to allow the state and architectural team to work with homeowners on their various design and proposals will allow this to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Appreciate your comments. Next, Ms. Joy Lindsay. Please go ahead.
Hi there, my name is Joy Schwartz and I'm a resident of Montecito. I currently live in my third home in Los Gatos with my husband and our 3 boys who attend Dave's Avenue Elementary. Our house has been amazing as it sits on a large lot with tons of room to roam, but as the boys continue to grow, we continue to run out of space. We love where we are and we are so thankful for our incredible neighbors. Being able to walk to town and to school is a priceless gift. We are fortunate to live on an acre lot and have considered adding on, building an ADU unit in the back of the property, which is flat, unused space with a dilapidated barn. But our boys are too young to take advantage of a new space so far from the main house. We can't afford the building costs and rent to move out and knock down the existing home, nor would we want to do so. The home has many more years to give to someone new. As SB 9 is intended by the governor, our family could truly benefit. We would like to split our lot, which is over 43,000 square feet, and build a new home which is large enough for a growing family, as well as a small ADU unit for guests and additional space. Building a brand new 3,500 square foot home while we live in our current home would not disrupt our family life, the boys' schooling, or the proximity to neighbors and friends. There would be no impact on the loss of trees, as the orchard space has nothing but a few old fruit trees that we have been trying to nurse back to life. In addition, we are in a corner lot, so access is not an issue. When the project is complete, we would sell our current family home to a new buyer, likely a family who would like it and love it as much as we do. The existing ordinance that you have passed would not allow us to do this. As I understand it, you would prefer us to build 2 800 square foot rental units on the back half of our 43,000 square foot lot. We could also have a third 800 square foot ADU unit with our current home. Our family, as well as our neighbors, did not move to Montecito to be surrounded by several small individual units scattered on a large piece of land. Property value and the integrity of our neighborhood would drastically be compromised. I question if this is the intended outcome. When I listened to your joint study session with you and the Site and Architectural Committee, it was not clear that a situation such as ours was discussed at all. Montecito should try to take advantage of the things that do work and can help create housing for those who want to be part of an amazing community. I'm asking you to allow a property owner to go to the Site and Architecture and present a reasonably sized home to be approved with neighbor input. A small change to your ordinance would allow this to happen. My neighbors and our community would appreciate it. Allow the Site and Architecture Committee to review homes with the design guidelines on SB 9 split lots and an alternative to requiring 2 small rental units. Thanks so much for your time and your consideration. It would mean a lot to our family.
Thank you. Appreciate your input. Mr. Kevin Hayes. Go ahead.
Yes, sorry. Good evening. Our situation is that we've lived in our 4,000 square foot house on a flat 1.4 acres for over 26 years. And we have now retired with our kids long gone and find ourselves in the situation where the house and the lot is too big for us. The back 2/3 of the property has a riding arena and old stables that have not been used since 1996. And we have been giving some thought about building an ADU for ourselves and renting out the main house, but an ADU is too small, so that doesn't work. What would work for us would be for Montecito to allow us to split off 3/4 an acre, around about 50% at the rear of our property where the riding arena and stables were. It seems that that's what SB 9 would permit. We could build, or we would intend to, we would like to build about a 2,400 square foot home there and sell the existing house we live in now. That way we can stay in the Monte Sereno community and keep our neighbors. There is plenty of room for access to the back lot, as the 1.4 acres is very wide, so we could avoid all the main trees, and there is even a driveway to the back of the property we could use for the new home. The problem is that it looks like the ordinance that you are contemplating has not allowed a path for this to happen. It seems we will only, or you will only, it will only allow 2 small 800 square foot rentals to be built on the back lot, which in my view, at least, in our view, is not what the neighborhood is now, and is not what the city's design guidelines envision. Monte Sereno really is a single family home community with a few ADUs for guests and the occasional rental where families can bring up their kids in a semi-rural environment like we did, all 3 of them. We want to keep it that way. It seems to us that 2 homes on 1.4 acres does not change that equation. We would landscape the rest of the back lot and put in fruit trees. Just please let us know what you're trying to achieve, as we do not really understand the restrictions you're placing on these projects and why existing homeowners should be penalized. Would it not be preferable for us, for our neighbors and the city of Monte Sereno to have 1 single family home rather than multiple 800 square foot blocks? We think the solution to our problem that our house and lot is too big, the SB 9 gives us the answer. We will follow the design guidelines for new home and go to the Site and Architecture Committee to get our plans approved. Can you help us with a solution? I think it'd be pretty easy along the lines of what Tony Jeans has suggested tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate all your comments. Is there anybody else who would like to address the council? Okay. Not hearing anybody else, I guess we'll bring it back to council for discussion. Please go ahead if you have any comments. Yeah, Ms. Lawler, Councilmember Lawler, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to hear our attorney's description of the ordinance as it is and why it may appear to be unclear.
Yeah, thank you, council member. Yes, so there's been a lot of discussion about the concept of having an urban lot split approved and then taking final building plans to approval to the Site Development Commission. Now, I do have concerns with that sort of interpretation, and it's unclear whether or not that's even allowed under SB 9, which basically says that a local agency may only impose objective zoning standards, objective subdivision standards, and objective design review standards applicable to a parcel that is created by an urban lot split, and only so long as they don't conflict with the restrictions in SB 9. So additionally, a local agency can impose objective zoning standards, objective subdivision standards, or objective design review standards that would have the effect of physically precluding the construction of 2 units on either of the resulting parcels, or that would result in a unit size of less than 800 square feet. So that is basically the most restrictive that the city can make, its SB 9 urban lot split approval process, is that you can restrict the development that happens after a lot split is approved, but only via objective subdivision standards, objective design review standards, and objective zoning standards. That is likely the way that SB 9 is going to be interpreted by the courts and by the state itself. So the idea that one can, after lot split approval, mandate that people go through a discretionary design review process, I think it is likely to be challenged. If not now, then at some point in the not too distant future. So for that reason, the ordinance as was prepared by staff imposed, objective subdivision and zoning standards based on the applicable zoning district, and imposed a size limit of 800 square feet per dwelling unit on urban lot split parcels that are approved. Now, that size limit obviously is one that has been subject to a lot of discussion, debate, and study. And that size limit is something the council does have a significant amount of discretion over. However, based on sort of the direction that we've been given so far, staff included an 800 square foot limit. And if the council would like to change that, that is something that the council can decide to do. But I think the concept that you can give people the option of going to site development or site and architecture commission for approval of their site development permits is likely to be subject to challenge.
Mr. Rudin, if you could also address Mr. Tony Jean's suggestion on some modifications, if you had a chance to look at those. Could those be made, or would those be a problem?
I think that the suggestions that were made were they are a little problematic in that they don't go far enough. I think that other provisions of the ordinance would also need to be changed. If the council wanted to increase site limit or dwelling size limits, I think it would make sense to do so for not only the urban lot split provision, but also to do so for the 2 units on a single lot provision to make sure that those line up. Basically, if the council would like to make substantial modifications to the ordinance, we would do that in a revised draft, which we would bring back to the council. And the council would hold a first reading and then adoption.
Thank you, sir. Do you have additional comments from council? Councilor Luthor, please go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I take to heart what the city attorney brought up, that we can only use objective standards. It's probably not a good idea to start splitting out a minimum and then a ministerial approval and suggesting that there's a way around that. Although we've heard from people today that they would like to have a way around that so that they could take their acre lots and disregard the zoning that they bought into and quadruple the density in their neighborhoods for their own profit or their comfort of living. But for me, that's not what I was elected to promote, which is the rural character of Monte Sereno and maintaining that. So at this point, my feeling is that we have followed the law. We've brought a very strict ordinance in place so that there's not a lot of change immediately. This will give us more time to see what's happening in other cities and counties. And it'll also give us time to see what happens with the initiative to bring back local control before there's a lot of activity. So at this point, my indication would be to try to maintain the status quo while meeting our SB 9 obligations. And studying this further, we can always revise later as we learn more what's working for other cities and counties. Those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Councilmember Turner, please go ahead.
Yes, I have a question for our attorney. My question is, if we approve this 800 square feet limitation, and later we find out in the process that it does not work, how much problem would it be for not only the current residents, but for future residents to make that change to increase the lot size, the house size?
So with respect to a change to the city zoning code and subdivision standards to increase permitted building size, certainly that's something that is relatively straightforward to do in terms of changing the law. Now, in terms of hardship, obviously, it's hard for me to comment on that because that's going to depend on, individual residents, their financial circumstances, and, obviously, if people do develop 800 square foot units and then all of a sudden they're permitted to develop 1,200 or 1,600 or whatever size limit the council decides 2 to 3 years down the road is actually, is acceptable and suited to Monte Sereno. Obviously, yes, there might be the potential of additional construction in the future, the need to tear down existing development in order to redevelop. But it's really hard to speculate in terms of what sort of hardship that a smaller size limit is going to impose on the residents.
But do you think they will be able to add on, let's say they build an 800 square foot house and want a 1200, will they be permitted to add on to that 800 square feet and still not go against SB 9?
If the city changes its zoning code, potentially yes. Now, whether or not that's feasible, practicable, or financially sound to do, and what sort of architectural issues that may cause down the road is really hard to predict at this point. But realistically, if the city increases the permitted square footage in the future, then in theory, the city could make allowances or create permit provisions that allow for additions onto SB 9 projects.
Thank you.
Councilmember Mekachek, you would like to say anything?
Sure. So when we were leading up to this decision point in putting this ordinance in place, what I think we were trying to do was not create a financial incentive for people to go and split their lot in two and basically double the density of each lot. And there seemed to be, as Councilmember Leuthold pointed out, significant support in our community for maintaining the rural character and the density. And if someone bought a lot in an R144 zone, they expected that to continue. Having said that, if there's an opportunity to put in an ADU, people were doing that. And we met our commitment for additional housing units through the ADU. So at this point in time, it strikes me that we took a path and we want to continue down that path, and everyone knew about it. And it seems to me that we can make changes in the future as we see how the community and the market react to this. So I think that I'd be with Councilmember Leuthold in terms of moving this forward as it's written. But I'm interested in hearing from obviously all the council members.
Thank you. Councilmember Lawler, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I would say that I agree with Mayor Pro Tem Mekachek as well as Councilmember Leuthold, in the sense that I view this as being something that is a preventative measure for now that we need to put in place as SB 9 takes effect, and that it buys us time to see how this unfolds over the next few months, so that it provides us flexibility to make adjustments in the future. I don't consider this as a last and final. I consider this a work in progress. Given all of the input that we received tonight, I think that we should definitely consider information as it comes in and keep that in mind. So I am for this right now as a preventative measure, and we'll see what happens in the next few months.
Anybody else have any comments? Councilmember Turner, please go ahead.
Yes, I think I would like to, the arguments here that they have made make sense. However, given the edicts that we've seen from Governor Newsom's office, it's very difficult to move ahead and trust what's going to happen. So I would support our current plan at this point in time, but I would remind council and everyone else to be flexible to actually changing it if it doesn't work out.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, I guess I'll give my comments. The SB9 has really put a serious burden on city councils. I think the democratic process works best when members of the cities come forward and say, this is what we want, as some of you have done today, and we really appreciate that. The problem is the ordinance takes that power away from the city to decide what's the right mix of housing inside the city. And we're forced to come up with a plan that will preserve the rural character of Montecito and provide an objective standard to do so. I think there's still freedom to some extent to do subdivisions the regular old-fashioned way. That hasn't gone away. You can still apply for subdivisions status where it's appropriate, or apply for other things. All this does is saying that automatically stamped, that by the staff approval of a project is going to be limited to 800 square foot housing. It does not say you cannot submit a regular plan as you would normally do to add or subdivide or do something else, assuming our zoning law allows that. So we may need to take a look at the zoning law, maybe make that more flexible in certain cases. But again, this is a reaction to where legislation is coming from the top, where they don't understand the unique character of the city. And Montecito has maintained this character. And every time there's a plan before us by anybody for a subdivision, all the neighbors, seem to come forward and say, why are you letting them do that? So this is kind of the reverse, where we're saying, okay, we're going to try to maintain the rural character and still within the confines of the very, very strict arbitrary law, which a lot of cities appeal against. We'll put some objective standards on the household size when the lot split occurs, but that does not prevent the regular channel way of doing other housing that can be done under the zoning laws. And perhaps you can look at the zoning laws at some point and see if you can give some more flexibility in that area. But at this point, I think this ordinance is a good one. It's a starting ordinance, rather than have developers just sweep down on Montecito, because we have a lot of acreage in a lot of plots, and start splitting those lots and putting the houses to which the rest of the neighborhood will have absolutely no control, because it's ministerial approval unless we can put objective standards. If there aren't any real objective standards, we'll be looking at lawsuits and everything else, because first of all, we won't be able to deny any of that. And so then I don't think the neighborhood will look, you might have two 11,000 square foot houses on two lots instead of controlling those. So at this point, I would support the ordinance, but I understand the concerns, and I think we do need to revisit this to see if there's some flexibility as the plan come in. Anybody else have any other comments? If not, can I have a motion to approve item number 5?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Turner, second by Councilmember Luthold. Roll call,
Yes.
please.
Councilmember Lawler,
Yes.
Councilmember Luthold,
Yes.
Councilmember Turner,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Makachek,
Aye.
and Mayor Elahi.
Aye.
That motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much for all the information that was provided to us by the members of the city. Now we have our new business, which is considering and approving city council committee commissions and ad hoc assignments for the calendar year 2022. Is there a staff report? Mr. Leonardis, would you be giving a staff report on it?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I am now unmuted. Mayor and Council, just our annual adoption of the committee and commission assignments, ad hoc assignments as well for the calendar year 2022. Staff recommends the Council consider and approve the recommended appointments put forth by the Mayor in consultation with the other council members. We're available for questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the staff? If not, I'll open it to the public. Are there any comments by the public? And hearing none, I guess we'll bring it back to council for discussion. And basically, I spent a lot of time trying to set up these committees and making sure everybody had about an equal load as far as on what committees they would be serving. And that's why I brought this forward. And if somebody has any comments, I'll be happy to hear those. Councilmember Makachuk.
I looked at these and they look like there's continuity from last year, and that's good. I wanted to say that since I joined council in January of last year, I think I've been unable to attend a couple, two of the Valley.
Did you just mute yourself?
Yeah, no, I had a problem. And I had Councilmember Leuthold attend in my as the alternate. And I think there was one where I attended a water district meeting because Councilmember Lawler couldn't. So I think it's pretty even, and I just wanted to thank people for helping out, and together we kind of make these happen. So that's a good thing.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councilmember Turner.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, for letting me speak. I would like to speak. I'm sorry?
I said always. Please go ahead. I just said always. Go ahead.
So did you or did you not want me to speak?
No, I said, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I would like to speak on the issue of our committee and commission assignments. As council members, we are actually asked to serve on a number of committees and commissions that extend beyond Montecirino and have broader regional and even statewide impact. Some of these committees are significant, dealing with meaty issues. Others are more perfunctory. For the significant committees, we typically serve for several years. It's important to get to know the organizations, the people involved, and the issues. These can impact Montecirino, so experience and continuity are important. I remember that in 2019, the entire council went to Sacramento, and the mayor at that time was booked with double meetings. And so he distributed our committee assignments through the city manager. He took the choice ones for himself and for one of his buddies. Councilmember Lawler, Councilmember Leuthold, and I objected at that time, and we wanted to make sure that committee assignments were done equitably and professionally. In an attempt to solve this problem going forward, the council passed in 1691.6 in August 2019, the resolution allowing the mayor to make recommendations, but required approval of the council for these assignments. That resolution also admonishes the mayor to seek balance among the council members. I am concerned that we're allowing this problem to arise again. Same old, same old. I cannot support these assignments as they currently exist. I am concerned that we have not provided for continuity and important committees, that we have not adequately applied the expertise of council members where it can be most useful, that we have lost the concept of balance. I will offer a couple of examples. The Cities Association has 3 committees. These are important committees. They deal with a lot of things, but lately they have been consumed with housing issues. SB 9, SB 10, our RENA numbers, local control, and the state initiative. I have served on these committees for 4 years. I know the organization, I know the people. I have established relationships and alliances with representatives from other cities. I have played a significant and impactful role in shaping the housing policies of this council and this organization. Those policies are intended to protect communities like Montecito from the forces that want to ban single-family homes in California and destroy communities like ours. I have brought these policies back to our council and promoted actions to implement what protections they afford. Housing policies may be critical for Montecito over the next few years. We are facing an outrageous RENA allocation number starting in 2022. I am the closest thing to an expert on these bills and issues that this council has. There is continuity, momentum, and expertise here that should be preserved. Yet our mayor chose to remove me from all these committees and replace me with himself and Mr. Mekachuk. I humbly suggest that this is not in the best interest of our residents. I'll give one more example. It was recommended that the council establish an IT ad hoc committee to work on improving IT services. I asked the mayor to assign me and Council Member Lawler to serve on that committee because it was a natural extension of our ad hoc customer committee. I'm an obvious choice for that committee since I'm the only council member with significant IT experience, 25 years in the industry. I have been driving IT improvements for the city since I joined this council 5 years ago. Yet, our mayor chose not to include me on this committee. Why would he not want to take advantage of that experience, my expertise, to create more meaningful outcomes? These committee assignments are important, and I believe they should not be made based primarily on the mayor's likes and dislikes. In my opinion, this council should make good use of the expertise it has available for the good of the residents. In the past, we have had issues with illegal flavor. We look to our attorneys. Recently, when we have financial issues that have come up, we have entrusted those to our finance director. Why should this be any different? For these reasons, I cannot support this committee, and I would like to ask our city clerk to include my comments in the public record. Thank you so much, council, for listening.
Thank you, Councilmember Turner. Anybody else have any comments?
No.
Councilmember Mekachuk, please go ahead.
I'll let Ms. Lawler go, or Councilmember Lawler go ahead.
Yeah, Councilmember Lawler, please go ahead.
All right, thank you, Mayor. May I suggest, perhaps because of Councilmember Turner's expertise with respect to IT, may I suggest that he be placed on the new IT ad hoc committee?
Okay. Any other comments? Councilmember Mekachuk.
Yeah, I've been involved previously in outsourcing applications, IT infrastructure, application development from parts of the United States to other parts of the United States offshore, near shore, from Canada to Mexico. Ms. Councilmember Turner, to say that you're the only one with 25 years of experience, you know, I just, you make that statement and it kind of, it doesn't ring true. So I haven't gone forth and explained what my experience is, but in terms of outsourcing IT applications, development infrastructure, I've got that in spades. So I just wanted to put that out there. And I had asked the mayor to put me on that, and he put Councilmember Lawler on and Councilmember Luthold.
Mayor, you're muted.
Councilmember Lawler, did you have any other comments?
Well, I did, given Mayor Pro Tem's comments, perhaps may I make the suggestion that Mayor Pro Tem Mekachek and Councilmember Turner be on this IT committee? With all due respect, Councilmember Luthold, I'm always happy to work with you. So obviously I will ask your input on that as well.
Councilmember Luthold, balls in your court, I guess.
Sure. And as I said, when this came up, I think it is an absolutely critical committee to look at security, to look at our backup structure, to look at how the infrastructure of our meetings is going to work. These are my focus. I think Councilmember Turner's points about her customer experience and excellence is very important, and certainly her work to bring C-Click Fix and the ClearGov software. She was very much behind spearheading that, as well as Ms. Lawler and our staff. So I think those things are very much appreciated from the customer experience and transparency points of view. What I envision for IT is different and much more focused on keeping the city's infrastructure robust, making sure that our processes are there, and really meeting the needs of 2022 and beyond. That said, I think everybody here brings a lot to the table. And I've expressed I would be happy to be on this committee and work with any member of the council. I would be happy to not be on this committee and have other members of the council take the lead on this. And so, as Ms. Turner said, I would have no problem with Mr. Mekachek and Ms. Turner, as Ms. Lawler said, having Ms. Turner and Mr. Mekachek do this. I'm not sure if they can work together constructively on this. Maybe it would be a way to build some bridges if they made that effort. And if they're not able to do it, we can take a look at putting some different people and creating a committee to get things done. So I don't know. I want to see the council work together. I want to see positive results from this, and that's my only concern on it. So I would be happy to work with Ms. Lawler or anyone else. And like I say, I'm happy to not be on the committee. Any combination that's going to get the job done, I think is great.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, let me just address some of the things Councilmember Turner brought up. I gave a lot of thought to appointing people on this committee, and at this point, it's very balanced. Ms. Turner is on 4 main committees and on 5 alternate committees. Ms. Lawler is on 4 main and 4 alternate. Councilmember Luthold is on 2 main and 3 alternates. I'm on 5 main and 1 alternate, and Councilmember Mekachek is on, Mayor Pro Tem Mekachek is on 3 main and 5 alternates. So it's difficult, and I know some people want to be on certain committees. I think we need to look at taking advantage of the experience Ms. Turner has, and supplemented by some of us now stepping up to the plate on the Cities Association. Traditionally, this membership of the Cities Association has been mayors and mayor pro tem. Once in a while, you get somebody who gets on there and stays a little bit longer. But I think the great experience that Ms. Turner has is going to help us. Just her not attending those meetings by itself should not stop her from contributing to the welfare of the city and what's the benefit of the city, and giving us her thoughts on what needs to be done. This should not be taken as a personal matter. I know she alluded to the previous mayor's city council appointments, but if you go back and look at those records, that was a mistake that the staff had made in making those appointments. Had nothing to do with her, but this time no staff has made a mistake. I've made the appointments and I've made them based on my best feeling as to who can best serve the city in the capacities that they've been appointed. So I will ask for a motion to approve these committees. The only one I think, and I would probably ask the motion to approve it as presented, with the IT committee continuing to be Councilmember Leuthold and Lawler, and have that done so that we don't have any further conflicts on this. So can I have a motion on that? Sorry, Councilmember Turner has her hands up. Go ahead. Councilmember Turner, you might be on mute, but we can't hear you. You're not on mute, so start speaking.
Yes, what I would like to suggest is that I be on that committee and I work with Councilmember Leuthold.
Okay, so that one seems to be the only one that we may need to do a vote on, since Councilmember Lawler, I don't know if you want to
Okay,
continue.
can I suggest that we take it off the approval tonight?
Yeah, what I was going to suggest is we will go ahead and do a vote on that particular one as to who should be on the IT committee.
I mean, like I said in the beginning, I'd like to have this as part of the customer service, and I could also look at the IT part of it, which I have done in terms of cybersecurity and all of that.
Thank you, Councilmember Turner. Is there a motion as to who should? Okay, first of all, let's do the motion on all the other committees. And for the approval for the committees that have been formulated, the IT new is more of an ad hoc committee. So can I have a motion for approval of the appointments to those other committees? That's all.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
A motion by by Mayor Pro Tem Nekacek, and a second by Councilmember Lawler. Councilmember Leuthold,
Yes.
Councilmember Turner,
Yes.
Councilmember Lawler,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nekacek,
Aye.
and Mayor Elahi.
Aye.
That motion passes 5-0.
All right, so now we have the ad hoc committees, and there's several ad hoc committees, but I think those are all good till August 3, 2021. Their term expires 1 year later. I don't know if we need to revisit that, or should we just leave it at for consideration at the August meeting of this council. My thought is just leave it alone and move those committees to August 3rd, 2021. Councilmember Turner, you had your hands up.
Yeah, I have a question about the ad hoc committee. Mayor Elahi, are you still on the Veterans Memorial?
Yes, I am.
Is that something you want to continue?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I just want to bring it up because I remember back in June 2019, we had you and Councilmember LaBourbet were on this committee, and we had a dedication to the Vet Memorial. And I remember, and I have a film about this, a video about this, and Todd Beamer's mother got up there and talked about her son being a victim of United Flight 93. And I just wanted to double check with you to see if you were still okay with handling that committee, or that you wanted to turn it over to somebody else, because I would be glad to take it on. And the reason I want to do that as well is because my father was also a veteran of the war.
Thank you for your input. I remember that Veterans Memorial, and my son served in the Marines, so it is important for me to be on the committee. I do appreciate your comments, and the ad hoc meetings, the committee appointments, I think we should probably leave until August 2022 when the 1 year is up on those. So they're really not for consideration right now because they're good for about a year unless you want to change it for some reason. So I don't think we need a motion to continue those ad hocs that are already in place through August of 2022. So the only thing that we need to consider now is the IT committee. I would still propose that Council Member Leuthold and Council Member Lawler continue to be on the IT committee. But if somebody else wants to make a different motion, please go ahead. Not make a second.
I would like to make a motion that I be on that committee with Council Member Lawler or Leuthold, it doesn't matter.
All right, if somebody wants to second either one of those motions, I guess we don't have any motion on the floor right now.
Yeah, I think that motion fails for lack of definiteness. I think we need a more specific motion to vote on.
So, Councilmember Leuthold, you're good at making motions. You want to go forward?
Actually, I see Ms. Lawler has her hand up, so.
All right. Oh, sorry, I
She's
missed
got to
that. Go
say
ahead.
first. Thanks.
I would like to make a motion to appoint Councilmember Turner and Councilmember Leuthold to the IT committee.
All right, and I'll second that.
Oh,
All right, we have a motion, roll call.
Motion by Councilmember Lawler with the second by Councilmember Leuthold. Councilmember Turner,
Yes.
Councilmember Leuthold,
Yes.
Councilmember Lawler,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Makachek,
aye.
and Mayor Lahi.
Aye.
That motion passes 5-0.
Takes care of everything we have on the agenda today. Is there anything else? If not, thank everybody. Councilmember Turner, you still have your hands up. Do you still want to
I'm
say
trying
anything?
to get it down.
Okay, all right, so.
I took care of it for you.
Thank you.
You.
So that's all we have. So thank you very much. And oh, there was one, I don't know, that's not quite it. There are a few things to be taken care of. Committee commission reports. Please go ahead if anybody has a committee commission report. And that would include council member comments at the same time also. Feel free to make those. Councilmember Lawler, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a council member comment. I've gotten a lot of feedback about the Winchester upgrades and very positive feedback, but people are concerned about what summer beach traffic may look like. And so I think it would be wise for us to be pragmatic and think ahead about what Saturday morning and Sunday mornings might look like for us, and possibly broach a conversation with the police department regarding having a traffic officer parked at Eaton, because I predict that people will try to bypass all of that by going up through Eaton, down Carl, up to Blanchard to cut off a lot of that traffic. So I'd like to have a discussion with the PD to see how we might be able to alleviate that problem for residents. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a good comment because I drive out of Eaton and it's almost difficult now to merge into those lanes because there used to be 2 lanes. Now it's getting extremely difficult to do that. So I think that's a good suggestion. Maybe Manager Leonardis can coordinate with this PD to give us some insights into that. Thank you, Councilmember Lawler. Any other committee comments? Yeah, Councilmember Turner, please.
Yes, I wanted to bring up the fact that the CERT group, as well as the Neighborhood Watch group, have not been holding office because of the pandemic. However, we have had some citizens that came up and asked to be part of the Neighborhood Watch group. because they have been vandalized twice and another neighbor vandalized once. I did get a hold of Jackie Rose, and she is going to hold a neighborhood watch group with them, and we're going to start one just like we did on Greenwood Lane. Just thought I'd let you know that. And I have asked Michelle Radcliffe to actually help with distributing some of the flyers for the neighborhood watch so that they can have a flyer that they can use for those who are still not part of that neighborhood watch group. Thank you. And I will put my hands down.
I think you're on mute, Mayor Elahi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I went through this annual report from the Santa Clara County Assessor's Office. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at it. It probably showed up in all of our mailboxes. And I just thought there were some interesting factoids in there that I wanted to bring to everybody's attention. The Santa Clara County assessed valuation this year for the property was $576.9 billion, or almost $577 billion. Which is an increase of about 4.6%. It is the highest of any Bay Area dollars, but the average value is only $800,000 because of Proposition 19. But you can expect additional assessments coming in. Alameda is the next with about $329 billion assessed. This county ranks fourth in the state. LA has $1,760 billion worth of property assessment. Orange County has $678 billion, and San Diego is $605 billion. The prediction is Santa Clara County might have $700 billion in the upcoming year. As far as Montecito is concerned, the assessments grew to nearly $2.6 billion. It's a 5.63% growth, and that's the third highest in the Bay Area. Mountain View had the highest growth, which is 8%. Now, Montecito only has about 1,291 parcels. Interestingly, Morgan Hill is the second highest growth in assessments at 5.75%. Assessments depend on when property was acquired. Montecito, 14.56% of the property was acquired prior to 1979, which means those property taxes are really capped. And subsequently, there's more assessments in, so that between 2009 and 2018, you have a 25.17% acquisition. I suspect the Hacienda project, as people start buying into, will result in additional assessments and property tax assessments for us. And I would ask our city manager to maybe have our finance director look at the assessment report by the county and try to figure out if the Hacienda transactions as they take place, whether they would make a dent on our budget, on the revenue resources. Whatever we had before, you can expect at least 6% more coming in. And if the Hacienda projects with the 35 homes all selling at $1.5 million, and so we might actually double that projection. So it might be helpful to get a window, and so we can have our proper budget planning as we go into next year. There was 80 new constructions in Montecito. There were 67 transfers of property. There's also 9 properties in Montecito that had temporary decline in value or a reduction of almost 17 million. I'm not sure how a property in Montecito declined in value, but there may be something that's going on there. Interestingly, the top taxpayer in this county, Google, pays $105 million in taxes every year. PG&E is about $66 million. Apple is at about $23 million. From the tax allocation, the counties get about 15%, cities get 12%. And I'm not, city manager Leonardo can tell us what percentage of what the property tax collection from Montecito comes back to us. That might be helpful. So it's a good report, well, with a lot of facts and statistics. You may want to take a look at it. And I would ask for our financial director to really look at it to see if the projections on the property taxes are going to be significant enough to help us with the next year's budget. those are my comments. Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem Makachuk, please go ahead.
Thank you. I don't know if this is a comment or a future agenda item, but there was previously talk of implementing flock cameras in Los Gatos, and we talked about it in for the city of Monte Sereno. And I had a couple people contact me saying that they would like to see those implemented in Monte Sereno as well. I have a colleague in Saratoga, and they're moving ahead with cameras there as well. So I'd just like to put that onto our radar screen as a council, and maybe have someone from Los Gatos Monte Sereno PD come and give us another overview of that so that we can consider it in 2022.
Thank you. I'm sure our city managers can take a note of that. Any other comments? Yeah, Councilmember Turner, please go ahead.
Yes, the committee, the Neighborhood Watch group that is working currently with Jackie Rose also includes the camera. The camera was also installed at the Greenwood Lane project. So we will have some best practices from that as well. Just wanted you guys to know that.
Yeah, that's an excellent suggestion. I think crime seems to be going up. More houses seem to be robbed or cars have been broken into. So I think that's a good thing to look into. Any other comments? And Councilmember Turner, I will ignore your hand. I assume you're not able to put it down right now.
Sorry.
No problem. Anybody else? Okay. So the next item is city manager's report.
Mayor Elahi. Thank you, Mayor Elahi. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Just to answer your question quick, the current amount of property tax rate that we receive from the county of Santa Clara is 6.33%. And I have two other items to report on this evening. I want to congratulate the Youth Commission on their annual coat drive. We received more than 50 items: shoes, suits, coats, shirts, sweaters. Good job for the Youth Commission in arranging this collection for the holidays for those in need. I will be sending out an e-blast regarding the success. All those items will be brought to West Valley Community Services, and they will distribute them to folks who need them. Second item, the Peaceful Mountain Monitor is looking for resident contributions for the spring edition of our newsletter. We have a deadline of February 15th for contributions. Contributions can range anything from historical anecdotes, recipes, hobbies. Last time we had an article contributed about beekeeping in Monte Sereno and one about hiking on trail. So those types of things that are community informational, feel-good things we look forward to receiving from our residents. Of course, council members are residents, so you're welcome to contribute as well. And we look forward to getting more resident participation so we can publish those on behalf of the community. That concludes my two comments. Thank you.
You're on mute, Mayor Elahi.
Yeah, okay. Future agenda items. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. All right, I'll start with one. I guess we've talked about it last time to consider going back to hybrid meetings. The Omicron virus seems to have put a little dent on that. But I would encourage our staff, city manager, to come up with the plans so that we can implement it. So it doesn't look like we'll be going to a hybrid meeting in February. But if possible, if you can at least come up with the plans on how a hybrid meeting could be done, if we are ready to proceed with it in February, and the meeting would obviously be in March or April or someplace. But doing a hybrid meeting is a project, and I'd rather have us be ready to do it if it appears that that's the right time to go forward with it. And then later on, we can think about going to a full-blown meeting if we get there, but at least we should consider planning for a hybrid meeting sometimes in March or maybe April. So if that could be looked at, and maybe we can have a discussion on it either in the February meeting. Councilmember Turner.
So I'm not going to raise my hand, so I'm just going to speak. I just wanted the council to know that this weekend there was supposed to be a gathering of musicians at the First Baptist Church, and which was canceled at the last minute because some of the people at the First Baptist Church was sick with COVID. So this coming weekend, they're not going to hold on-site services. Everything will be closed. So I just wanted you to know that, so you're aware of how COVID has affected Montecito.
Thank you. Yeah, this virus spreads very fast, but it's not supposed to be as dangerous, but we'll find out more in the next month or so. But it does spread and we all need to take precautions. Any other future agenda items? Or any other comments? If not, I guess we can close out the meeting. Thank you all for attending and hope to see you next, I think it's in a couple of weeks. Good night.
Thank
Good night.
you. Good
Thanks,
night.
everyone. Good night.
Good night, everyone.